All right, everyone, welcome back to the second installment of New Technologies. Apologies, this one took a little bit longer than expected. I mean, way too longer than expected. And mostly, it's springtime. Everyone is out there flying. And so have I been trying to chase as much airtime as I can. And it's a little bit difficult with finding the dates and finding the guests for the show and everything. But regardless, all this waiting has not been in vain. That means we have collected a lot of material and we have been working behind the scenes as hard as ever. So, regardless to say, a lot of value will come your way in coming days. So stay tuned, stay excited, as I always say. And this time around, we have two of the most leading and most qualified designers in our sport of paragliding from one of the most established brand in the sport called Niviuk. So we have Adrià Grau and Guillem Batlle. I hope I'm not saying their names wrong, but anyways, Guillem is an aerospace engineer. He's looking behind the Niviuk R&D department, and Adrià is a mechanical engineer. So both of them have come on board to talk and let us know what really goes on behind the scenes in designing a product, in coming out with a new technology, and eventually making it accessible to the consumers. So without further ado, I think this is one of the most knowledgeable episodes we have had so far. Loads of technicalities have been discussed, and their prized product which they came out with, the Orikami back protector, has been explained very well by both of them. So dive right in, enjoy the show, and stay tuned for the new ones coming in. Hello guys, welcome to Paragliding Atlas. Thank you so much for doing this. Super nice to see you guys. A little bit of an introduction and then let's get this going.
Yeah, thanks a lot for inviting us in the podcast, and we are happy to talk with you about the new things that are interesting the people in the industry. A bit presentation of us. I'm Adrià. I'm part of the R&D, and I also take part in production connection. And then in the office here, we give technical support to the different departments like marketing, commercial, workshop, and service. So we are a bit experienced in we use the products. Some people in the other departments don't have the so much use of the products in real life, so we fly, and we can give this perspective to the other departments that sometimes it's helpful, and I do this kind of things every day.
And I'm Guillem, and I'm aerospace engineer, also contributing to Niviuk's research and development team. And my main task is to analyze new possible technologies to apply to the new developments and to discover if those solutions are feasible from the point of view of simulations and also from empirical testing. So that's my main goal here in Niviuk.
I feel like I've stuck on a gold mine, like just the amount of knowledge that both of you guys have, like an aerospace engineer, and on the other hand, you, Adrià, a mechanical engineer. Like, wow, what else does a podcast host need to know when we touch upon the topic of new technologies? So super thankful, loads of questions coming to my mind, but to start with, because I was looking at your LinkedIn profile, Guillem. I mean, please tell me how do I pronounce your name correctly? Is that Guillem?
Yeah, it's in Catalan, it's Guillem, but it's the same in English as William. So no problem if you can call me William.
No, I'll try and stick to it, but I apologize in advance if I mess it up because my name is a bit tricky and I people butcher it often. But fingers crossed. Anyways, Guillem, and I'll start with you. I was just going through your LinkedIn profile, and it says that you have been studying aerodynamic and aeroelastic performance of wide-body commercial aircraft. That sounds super fancy. But how did collapsible wing, a humble collapsible wing of a paraglider come into your life from a wide-body commercial aircraft with all those fancy terms which I've never really heard while, just gliding few meters or few thousand meters above the ground?
Yeah, so of course it's different, taking into account a wide-body commercial aircraft or comparing to a paraglider in terms of materials, in terms of weight, and in terms of also the application, because one is for pleasure and fun and the other one is for commercial issues. But of course, when it turns out to look for the physics behind and also the aerodynamics and aeroelastics, which is the structural part, is similar. So the theory is the same, I would say, but the applicability is different. So of course, there's a relation in between researching a wing or researching a paraglider, how it deforms, how it's adapted during the flight, and the theory behind is the same for both applications.
No, sounds exciting. I mean, the fun behind an aerofoil is regardless the same for humans. We get the art of flight. So I can imagine it must be super interesting, yet very different. But Guillem, if I have to touch upon you a little bit, you said you kind of, navigate the whole R&D between your multiple countries in Vietnam and in Spain and in Switzerland. Like, when I go to Niviuk's website, I see such a massive team. Like I don't think there's any other brand out there, and I don't mind taking names as well. No other brands, first of all, is so transparent with the amount of team they have. And secondly, I don't think any other brand invests so many resources in bringing in such big knowledge and big brains into this. So if you can just help us, get an idea, like what does a typical day of R&D or kind of, what does behind the scene looks like at Niviuk office?
Okay, so like talking about the team, of course, you've seen it throughout our website. We are 8 people that are exclusively dedicated to R&D. And that comes from the philosophy of Niviuk. So we are not just a brand. We are a commitment to innovation. So being innovation our main philosophy, that's why we're 8 people that are exclusively dedicated on that, on developing new products and also researching the theory behind the development of these new products. And on a conventional working day, of course, it's different for all the team members because all of them and also myself have different skills and different backgrounds. So, for instance, we have pilots that provide us with a really good feedback in terms of the wings that they fly, also the harnesses, and they develop this stuff. And the engineers provide the mathematical view of an engineering view of the product. So there's an explanation for the wing to behave like that. So we tend to correlate or try to correlate the feedback from the pilots to the numerical or the experimental results that we have. So for me, for instance, a conventional day is taking a model and analyzing it throughout CFD. So preparing the model, then meshing it, analyzing if the mesh is correct enough for the results or not, and also applying some kind of hypothesis in order to decrease the computational cost of the simulations. So afterwards, I do the simulations and I analyze the results and share all the results with the team to, again, find the relation between the feedback from the pilots and also from Olivier, who is the chief designer, and the results that we get from the simulations or from the wind tunnel testing campaigns that we do.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of work, to be honest. I mean, as an outsider, I mean, as someone who's not involved in behind the scenes, I thought anybody who's wearing a Niviuk t-shirt is basically going out to have fun all the time and is living the dream. But I see there's a lot of numbers and there's a lot of work which goes on behind the scene as well. Adrià, I want to quickly bring you in the show.
To complement a little bit, just to see that the topic thing that people has on mind that paragliders are easy to design or it's a simple thing, but actually when you go to the background and all the things that come together to bring this product in the air, it's quite complex if you study everything, material structure, aerodynamics, inertias. So that's why we have a big team and everyone is specialized in some parts, because we complement each other and then we can take out the best things of all the areas.
No, I can totally agree. And there's a reason why you guys are the market leaders, probably because of all of these R&D. But Adrià, just to bring up, my last question was actually directed to you, but I messed up your names. So I just wanted to get an idea. What is the kind of coordination between these multiple offices? Because I see Niviuk just does not operate out of their headquarters in Spain. You guys have a dedicated production facility, and then you have a dedicated R&D thing. So when it comes to navigating the coordination between these multiple teams, if you can just briefly touch upon that, what is behind the scenes working, if you're comfortable, if you're not letting out any secrets.
Yeah, sure, no problem. We are happy to explain all the complex thing that we have and to achieve this kind of products that we make. It's because of this, to make a good work of all the team together. So in terms of development, we have 4 people in Switzerland, as well, we already know. Some part is there. And then we have 4 people here in Spain, in the office, in the headquarters. These teams are basically on the line of development and research. One part it's more for the physical testing and flying the wings and the products in Switzerland is where we make it. And here in Spain, the part of the team of R&D, it's more for, as Guillem said, for the simulation and studies and research of new lines and tendencies. This is in terms of the development team. For sure, we are every day on contact. We have the projects online, and we have to advance in the same line. So we have direct contact usually, and we go in the same direction. And then, for the other departments here in the office in Spain, it's where we have all the marketing, the commercial, all the logistics. So all the other departments that you can imagine that conforms a company, are here in Spain. And then, as you said, the production, we have it in Vietnam. It's our own factory facilities. So we control. This is a good point, also an important point to have these products that you see. It's the relation with the factory and the everyday that it's part of my everyday work. It's the contact with them. So that we design following their necessities, and also they produce following what we really need. And this is a daily work that we need to make to make it in the line of products and the precision that we design and produce. And connecting all these parts, it's the tricky thing that we manage every day, but it's working. So
100%, and I have to give it to you guys. You guys are doing something amazingly right and bringing out such awesome products to the market day after day and time after time. But, guys, I have to ask you something. Paragliding as a sport is it growing from a manufacturer's perspective? Do you see it growing? Do you see more people kind of getting into the sport, or what's your take on that one?
Well, it was finally it was growing up. We had the boom in the COVID sessions. So well, it happened the same for all the outdoors sports, running, bicycle. We have a boom on this, and the question was if it would be stable or going up like this after the COVID, or it would be more stable like we are used to it. The reality is that we had one step up. So after this point, it was for sure new people getting to the sport, and it was maintaining the sport. I mean, was not just for 1 year that they tested, and it's what we feel now, that we are increasing production. We are increasing the number of products, increasing the team here in the office. So everything is going up. In our case, for example, it's in this tendency for sure.
Yeah, so nice to hear that, and I think all of us can agree that art of flight is pretty addictive once you give it a shot. It's so hard to give it out. But the reason, the curiosity behind asking this question is, often we see new brands coming up, these one-man armies, designers breaking away and saying that, hey, I've had enough of this. I'm going to go out there with my own ideology, put in my money and resources, get the funding. And they bring out their own brands as a single person brand kind of a thing. There's a minimum order quantity, which you go to the factory and it's like, hey, this much money, this is the design, go make it. And put a bit of a marketing team on the website. And then you're out there selling a product to the consumers. It baffles my mind when I go out there as a buyer, like let's say currently I'm trying to upgrade from a high B to a 2-liner C, or like the C class. And when I go out there, the websites, every single brand says, trust mine. Every single brand says that I have put in so much energy and effort. But obviously, when a brand like yours, who's holistically doing this very professionally, is bringing in so much value, how do a consumer differentiate between a brand with a big team versus a brand with a one-man army? And I mean, like, how do we make a decision that which one should be trusted more? Because websites can be made by just a really good designer, a web designer, So if you can touch upon that, I'll be super thankful. And I understand this is a bit of a gray area question, but I mean, if you guys, as one of the industry leaders, can bring in your perspective, I'll be super thankful, because I think audiences want to know that.
Yeah, sure. Well, if actually, there are many brands, as you said, that are a bit smaller, that they could do a lot of marketing, and it would be very nice in the website, but actually the difference, you need to see it on the product. If you put all the investment that we put on everyday project, and this represents that we are on the top leading, pushing the new tendencies, researching, and at the end you will have the new things on the products. a part of the service and all the other things that complement a good image of a brand. But the product, it's what makes the difference between one company and another. And the ones that invest on development are the ones that will have the best line of products in all the catalog, not just in one model specifically. Maybe you design something that it's special and you can focus on this, but in general, if you have all the other catalog products not on the same line, people will not have the confidence on all your brand. And if they have confidence in one model, you just need to wait 2 seasons. So it's the life of 3 seasons. It's the life of one product. If a brand is not able to invest and develop and improve the product, it will be stuck on this point. That's why we always are pushing and going far away, because if you stop, you are decelerating and the other brands will eat you. So it's what makes evolve, and people sometimes it's difficult or sad to make it easy to understand, because you see the good marketing and the nice pictures and they just focus on this, but actually you need to see a bit more to have a general view of all the brand, the story, the comments, the image, the have visible all these investment that we, in our case, we make on development. This sometimes it's difficult to express and make it clear for customer. That's why we put now in the last year we put so much investment also on marketing to make this visible and share all this technology background that sometimes is not so easy to see.
Guillem, I want to bring you, but get your perspective on this, because as Adrià said, a couple of seasons or 3 seasons are more than enough for the market to gauge how the brand is performing. Looking at it from a designer's point of view, we see, like, how do you see the R&D changing in 2-3 seasons? Like, of course, you guys, even before you bring out a product to certification, there's a lot of protos that you make and a lot of like test flying that you guys do. So when you bring out a product and launch it to the market, you have already kind of maxed out your abilities. You put your best foot forward. So how does that best change, and how do you strive to make it even better after a couple of seasons or 3 seasons when you get the feedbacks? Like, if you can just run through that one.
Well, since a paraglider is made up of many pieces, you have many, both also material science. For instance, there are the manufacturers that provide you new materials. So materials is one of maybe most advanced in terms of modification from one prototype or one model to the other. But also we invest many resources on looking for best solutions for the stability, for the structural stability of the canopy, for instance, also for the inflation, to make the inflation easier for the pilot. So when you release a model, you put all your effort on making it as best as possible. But of course, since science and also researching is always going forward, the same happens with the products. So you can start with the product that you release and start trying to find problems of this prototype from the feedback from the customers, also from the feedback from pilots, and then try to solve those issues and try to improve the performance. That is always the cherry on the cake. And also the handling or the stability and the feedback that we receive from the pilots is really useful for us to try to go for best products in the future.
So basically, if I try to understand, you said you work a lot with tech. So more data points means more things to analyze, and more customers means more data points, right? So once you have all of that in a season or 2, basically you combine all of that and then strive to make a better version of the product. Is that where we're getting?
Exactly. But it's not only from the feedback from the pilots, it's also from our engineering view that we try or we analyze some other solutions that can be feasible for the future. So it's not only developing products, it's researching for solutions for the future that maybe are not releasing products this year or not in the following years, but maybe from 5 years from now or release some research projects that we are doing nowadays actually tangible on the products. So that's the way we work.
Actually, that was where I was getting to. Like, my next curiosity was that when you as designers sit together, when you brainstorm, when let's say Oliver, your chief designer, comes across and says that, hey guys, brand new project, we got to make it. how does the concept development look like? Like, let's say for one-man army, it's like, this guy, this person, whosoever is planning, he just inculcates that idea in his mind, and then he spends his time on the software, and then he kind of puts it to action. But for a team like yours, where you have all these big brains sitting around, how do you go from drawing board to factory? And you don't have to get into the super long details because of the limitation of time, but just if you can just run through concept development, steps involved until the prototype production. How does that work in a brand like yours?
Well, in taking a bit back what you said, when we start to design something, we take the feedback from pilots for solving the issues that we may have in the previous version of product. But as Guillem said, we have a line of research that it goes independently from the catalog product, let's say. So we test things that they could work or not, but we have a big investment also in searching for new lines or new concepts that it might be possible to apply or not. So the first thing is when we have there are like these two lines. So one is research and trying to find new concepts and things that are not applied on products. And the other one is evolving and improving the current products that we have in catalog. That it's where we get the feedback from pilots, and we work on these two lines at the same time. For sure, when we have a new or one update of model, we take back our ideas of the next generation of version. For example, the new version of Hook or Arctic or whatever. We think what we want to apply on this new model. We take back the feedback from the customer. So in case there are some comments that are useful for our line of designing, and then if we have some research concepts that are possible to apply on this model, and they are useful and we can give good points to it, we apply them. But as Guillem said, we research thinking in a few years. We don't apply all the points in one model. So we have a bit of margins of sometimes. If you sell everything in the model that you make today, then you have to invest more to get this. And you have to know this point a bit in detail. So precisely where you are comparing to the competence or your previous model, if it's the reference that you want to improve. And then passing all this to the production, as your question was, the process is that we put these ideas or options that we are thinking in prototypes. We simulate them previously to see if the concepts are on the good application point on this sample or not. We produce the sample in our facilities in Vietnam. Everything that we produce, samples and serial production wings are in the same factory. So we don't produce the wings here in Spain or Switzerland. Everything came from the factory. And then we start the development process of checking samples, complementing with more simulation, knowing where are going, and if this line is what we want to follow, achieve our objective, or we need to change something on the process. But this is our main way of working until you arrive to a concept that you think that you achieve your initial objectives and you are in the position that you want to be comparing to competence or your previous version, if it is what we win to beat, let's say.
Indeed. And I think it's so fascinating the amount of effort that a brand like yours put in. Because I remember I was on I was reading a catalog or something about Bi-Skin 2, the single skin tandem that you have. And it was written that you made 40 prototypes before you finally put that wing out on the market. First,
some models require more prototypes than others. Sometimes we are not happy with the results that we are getting, and it means that we need to make more simulation or more prototypes. Now, having simulation on the table, it's a tool that it's reducing quite a lot the number of prototypes. Depending which model, it's quite less number that the one you said we can achieve to a model. This was like a new concept on that time. So for sure,
since it was an innovation, we need to put more effort on that in terms of prototyping.
Other models that are more in the line don't require so much investment and research.
Now, of course, we need to stop the wastage and increase sustainability in our efforts. But what comes to my mind is what happens to those prototypes which do not pass the thing. Like, do you have pilots who are absolutely going nuts about it? That hey, it does not matter how wild this thing is, I will still go out and push it. I will still pay you the money. Or do you actually just destroy it? Like, what's the vibe like of the ones which are not out there for commercial usage?
No, the prototypes that actually all the bunch of prototypes that we produce that are out of the final product, let's say, we destroy them. We give them to recycling companies that they use it for making wallet or clothes or whatever. But yeah, they are not sell for everyone for sure. Not because it could be dangerous, but it's not the product that you are releasing at the end. So it's not the point.
Could be bad, and it's not our.
It's not the
idea.
point. We will not win anything having 10 prototypes out, covering 10 pilots. So it's better to destroy them, make jackets or wallets or wherever, and everyone is happy with them.
Breaks my heart. I want my hand on one of them if you guys destroy them. Please, paragliders are so expensive. Don't destroy them like that. But no, as you said, like with the simulations, the wastage is going less. So I trust you're putting your resources in the right one. But guys, I want to come to this brand new concept of yours. This E&A concept is not what a lot of brands target because it's a very beginner market, and accuracy is something that I somehow feel does not get as much glamour as acro and cross country in our sport. But until you guys, there was only one brand, Da Vinci, which was doing their own accuracy thing with the point, and finally, like you guys have come out with a dedicated accuracy glider. Called Target. So what is this, like concept all about, and how, because until now people have been winning and kind of happy with just regular E&A wings and flapping them or, just pushing them to their limits to land pinpoint. So first of all, super brave of you guys. Thank you for finally investing into such a niche market. But just talk us through what is Target and what is it all about, and how did this happen basically?
Well, Target appeared, as you said, about the accuracy discipline that it came to the industry, to the market. Always when you have new things, like a bit more on one side of the main volume of pilots, you need to consider if it's worth it or not to make investment on checking this kind of product. But as the accuracy is getting bigger, and in some parts of the world, it's taking quite big point. Asia, and we have quite a lot of people practicing it. East Europe also, they are making quite a good number of competitions of accuracy. So we decided to go for it and see what was the points that pilots making accuracy were looking for, and we developed big simulation, again the same development process that we do with a normal or different model, but we focus on the objectives that we need to have this wing for this kind of competition. And the improvements from, let's say, an NA, actually it's an NA wing, but the points that I'm not a pilot that makes accuracy every day, so I cannot give my experience on this, but for sure I land every flight I do, so I know a bit what you need to do for landing. Precisely in one point, and people wants to fly slow, have handling on slow speeds, and the wing have a really late stall point, so you can brake a lot and even descend in parachutal configuration, let's say, without stalling the wing and kicking your back with the ground. So these were the points that we focus a lot on the Target development. Guillem can give a bit of simulation of
those were the objective on the development. So we look for low speed profiles, and we investigated several different airfoils to maintain a good stability and also handling of the paraglider, the Target in that case. So that was the main innovation, I would say, or research in our side for the airfoil development, and also then for the canopy and for the brake installation to have a good handling and also brake control.
Comparing to the Coyote, for example, the school wing, for sure you want a really stable, easy wing. For the accuracy, normally the pilots have more experience if they are not learning to fly. So you can have you can handle a wing that it's a bit more directive. You can break the handling. It's better in slow speeds. So in case you arrive to the point in a good position, everything goes well. But if you need to react on the last 2 meters in really slow speeds, you need a wing that reacts to this input in the brake. So that's why we play a lot in this handling on slow speeds, and the profile achieves this configuration easily. And also on the brake, as Guillem said, we play making tension on the different parts that we want to brake before. This is related to the configuration of stall point. So if you brake more the wingtips, it will stall further the wingtips. It's different methods that you can achieve this way of braking and slowing down for one precise landing.
I was looking at this from a beginner's perspective. Let's say you're somebody. I mean, we all remember the time when we started flying. When we started the sport, and of course, first and foremost is we want to have fun. But before that, it's like if we have to be safe, we have to kind of make sure that we are doing this within the flight envelope and within the capacities of a pilot as a beginner. So when as a beginner you go out on the market and you're like, okay, I finally saved up this much money for the course, and then I finally saved up this much money for the equipment, you want to get the best value out of it. That's a human trait, you don't want to waste anything. Instructors, friends, marketing tactics, they are like, hey man, there's a low A, there's a mid A, there's a super high A, and there's a low B, there's a mid B, and like the options are endless and confusing. Because I remember my time, I spent hours and hours looking at websites, reading the manuals, going through texts and all of that. Now, if you are a pilot who is excited by the art of flight and you've decided that, okay, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, how do you navigate the risk versus reward spectrum when you buy the first wing? It's like, should I buy a low A? Should I buy a high A? Should I buy a low B? Or should I buy an accuracy one because it's the latest technology and it kind of promises to be more reactive and all of that? Like, I know there's no correct answer for this and everybody kind of has to answer this for themselves, like what they really want to. But you guys are the experts, like at the forefront of this. How would you suggest that a person navigates between the spectrum low A to low B and now this brand new offering in the market? Because I think if you guys are bringing out an accuracy wing, other brands will be excited to follow the same stream pretty soon. So
for sure the market has evolved to divide every section of homologation in different parts. So minus, medium, and high. We will have soon in everything. Some brands even have more steps in one category, and this is the reality. So at the end, it's customers need to navigate through this bunch of options. Yeah, sometimes it could be tricky, and it could be quite difficult to select. The natural direction would be to start from the really A wing for school. For sure, some brands recommend changing to or passing to a high A out of the school. Yeah, in my experience for taking not from companies, but everyday flying and how I learned to fly. Yeah, you start with the A, and then depending the time that you put on the sport also and the evolution that you make, yeah, you could jump some of these steps, but I would not recommend it if you are flying a really small flights a year, or you need to follow each step depending the concept. Some brands they sell one mid A that has better handling, or some other brands say that the top A would be enough for starting cross country. There are many marketing things actually, and it's difficult sometimes to select. But I would not jump fast from one A to high B or something like this. That it's what happens sometimes, and then pilots get scared and need to go back. So if you need to, as you said, it's difficult to answer this question, but you need to assess your capacities and your time that you are putting in the sport, and this could give you a line of how to treat this navigation. But I would not jump from low A to high B or something quite big. Also, the homologation gives some range. So imagine that's why we have option for 2-3 steps in one A level or B level, because it's quite big margin of movement inside this same certification. This is a point that people still sometimes they don't focus much. The certification level, you can have a C wing that it has just one C maneuver in the list of certification testing, and then another C that it has almost all the maneuvers. So these sometimes people just refer to the title of it's a NC, but actually inside there are more things. The homologation is not able to divide this. Maybe in the future, I don't know, just we will have a real certification, A minus, A medium, A plus. But nowadays it's not the case. So we can understand that it could be tricky, but also the industry and the brands, the market has evolved to this kind of select sections of different levels. So we need to follow also this tendency in Niviuk.
No, I agree. I mean, it has to make monetary sense for any business to go out there and put the R&D. So you have to stick to that one. But what I'm wondering is, as a new beginner straight out of the school, you want to, as I said, you want to go ahead and build your career in paragliding. Can Target be a wing that gives you enough fun as well as the safety, or is Target for people who are like wanting to compete out there?
For starting to fly, it's not the objective of this model. We have the Coyote, that it's the wing that it's developed for school. And I would not start flying with Target. Even if it's an NA, it would be an NA medium in the range. But it has the good capacities of the NA. But we have the Coyote that it's especially designed, and the real objective were school. And the good point of this wing, it's for this reason. And someone that would like to compete in accuracy, for sure, Target would be the option.
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you for your clear answer, because it just makes it so much easier for the audiences to figure out where this sits in their zone. But talking about this whole tech of kind of developing wings, we see the market is shifting from 3-liners to 2-liners, and of course, the triple C class was dominated by Enzo for super long time until you guys came out with a revolutionary product, coming out, and people started placing trust in X1. And finally, that is a worthy competitor, which is not only just matching it, but even exceeding the performance at times. And now we see that tech finally coming down to Arctic R and all of that. Yeah. The question that I'm trying to get to is, when we look at higher end technologies coming down to lower end wings, can a pilot from the lower homologation absorb them as they are? Or should we still kind of, from a designer's perspective, to be on a safe side, to make sure you do not stop having fun, should you put your trust in conventional technologies that have been there for seasons together, or for such technologies which have just kind of come up and are, exciting? They're out there winning the things, and they're out there making people happy. Like, how do you navigate the risk versus reward spectrum when so much information is thrown at your face and all of it promises to be fun?
Well, maybe we can check the good points of the 2-liners going down. The 6 is more, maybe Guillem can give you comments of drag and simulation. But for sure, there are points of high performance wing that are going down, because also we are achieving good behaviors of safety in the other. It's compensating also. So for sure, it's also related, I think, to the division of these sections of every level. So in C class, now you can have a C 3-liner, a C 2-liner, and maybe in the next years, a 2-liner high, also inside C. Yeah. So it's what we said on the previous question. You need to decide. It's difficult to have it clear, but you need to decide where to be. For sure, some of these 2-liner things or other concepts that will go down, it doesn't need to be related to safety. So people is scared sometimes of applying things that are used on higher models, and actually it's not the main thing that makes the wing difficult to fly or dangerous. There are many other points that you can work on, and you can compensate maybe the behavior that it's giving some parts of these concepts. But in terms of the two-liner, for sure, it's not a low C wing that you need to jump when you are flying a bee. But yeah, then you need to take the decision. If you are flying a lot of hours and you can get this new piloting method, that it's the most different thing that you will getting a two-liner, getting used to the pilot using the V lines, the risers. And this is the thing that maybe takes more time for the pilot that comes from a three-liner to understand. In terms of safety, for sure, the stall behavior when you're making a two-liner stalling, there is a little bit technique different that you need to apply. If not, the wing will have a different shape that what you're used to making stalls on a three-liner or four-liner. But actually, the compactness, the rigidness of the wing, it's really higher on this two-liner, and it's a good point for the perf also. So all these concepts, you need to understand that some are related directly to safety, but actually it's not the real case. And you can work on other things to have the final concept in the level that you want, even if it's a two-liner, three-liner, or wherever. There are three-liners that are more dangerous or complicated to fly than a two-liner for sure.
Wow, I could not have guessed that. No, but like the point that I'm trying to get to is because even B are going from 3-liners to 2.5, and everybody is getting more and more excited about it. Because let's say, as a consumer, whenever new technology hits you, you are like, okay, new technology promises to be more exciting, more research and development has gone in, it's going to be safer, even though it's more expensive. So when we see the drag being the main coefficient that designers are trying to reduce to improve the performance, are we sacrificing, safety, or are we sacrificing something, peace of mind for more performance? Or is this like it is becoming a norm which is covering up all the safety aspects, even in lower classes, not just in CCC, not just in D, not just in C, but eventually even Bs are going to come to two-liners, and maybe one day we see school wings coming down to two-liners because it is something like that. But it blows my mind, man, the amount of things you guys keep on bringing out,
Yeah, well, in terms of drag, maybe...
Yeah, in terms of drag, for sure, it's better to reduce the area that is exposed to the wind. So two-liners are there for that reason. But when it turns out to safety, I think that in our side, we maintain or even improve the safety. So safety and security for pilots is a compromise from our side, and is mandatory for each product and project to maintain or even improve the same level of safety on each our products. So I don't think that going to a two-liner, especially in our case, is more dangerous than using a three-liner.
Yeah, for sure. When we arrive to the A wings, school wings is two-liner. If we arrive, I don't know. But yeah, then we will have to see if all the other points have evolved so much to compensate this, or yeah, for sure, two-liner will have one behavior that it's not going on the line of school. So I don't think so. But we will see. We never know the future. But
no, sounds exciting. Sounds very exciting. But, before we move on to the next topic, like, how do you, because the CCC class is pretty much at the performance plateau from what I can see. The big manufacturer, your biggest competitor, Ozone, has had its wing out there, been there for ages, and it's like, we cannot make it better. It is there, and deal with whatever we have. And now we see the first version of your wing came out and performing well enough that there does not seem to be a need from the customers to say that, hey, give us a better one. I don't know how the World Cup pilots react to that, but the market seems to be pretty happy with what's there out for sale. So as a designer, when it comes to improving the technology at the highest level, at making it safe yet racier, how do you navigate the plateaus that the technology hits when it comes to actually converting it into production and bringing out the product out to the market?
So we apply the same procedure for all the other products, but in that case, we mainly focus on aerodynamic performance, and now we rely on new technologies, for instance, aerodynamic shape optimization and also aeroelastic shape optimization. That was the first question that you asked me. And doing this kind of simulations, we end up with an optimal shape, and going to that direction, I think that will give paragliding new tools for this CCC level, and it won't stop and at the plateau that you mentioned. So I think that the solution is to invest more in that kind of resources and rely on more on computer science and also in engineering to find a solution that is easy to fly, not dangerous, but with remarkable high level of performance.
What I'm wondering is that do you guys as designers sometimes feel frustrated with the homologation? Because of course that is the only thing that is holding you back, right? Because when you play with your creativity and all the knowledge, there are endless racier wings that you can make with. Is the certification holding back some bit of your performance enhancement products? Because I've had that vibe from some people in the market, and it's not very openly talked. But I mean, you guys have been honest enough, so I thought, like, why not touch upon this one? What do you guys think about homologation when it comes at the absolute top level, where people are putting in the work, where people are kind of knowing how to navigate the risk versus reward themselves, yet are not having a chance to get the product because of the paperwork that is required to keep it within those guidelines?
Yeah, certification is one limit that we all have, but are one rule that we need to follow. So I don't think it's frustrating to don't be able to continue developing just because one point on certification. In this high CCC class, for example, the differential between speed system A and B, it's limited. So it's there. You need to find other points to get it's not just speed. As PM said, there are many ways to improve the product. There are materials, they are structurally, aerodynamic. We have the stability of the wing. So we analyze a lot the dynamics of the wing, how it moves through the air in turbulent, in calm air. So there are many points that you can work on, and not just because they limited the aspect ratio or they limit the differential between A and B riser. So yeah, maybe someone feels a bit frustrated. In our case, I think we just follow the points that we need to have in mind, and then we search other things to compensate this limitation, for example. The problem is when you arrive to these high points that every new step it's costing more investment. So you need to work a lot to get new things. If we could have some release of some restriction, yeah, sometimes in one line would be easier, but it doesn't make everything easy to have a wing that is flying better or going faster. There are many points on the equation.
Yeah. And actually, I don't think that the regulations or the homologation is restricting our innovation, because the same happens in aerospace industry for planes, for instance, that are really tough regulations and certification procedures, but always the brands are innovating and showing new products that are within the range of the homologation. So the same applies to us. We are able to find a solution that is within the homologation range, but give a lot more performance compared to the products from nowadays.
Makes sense, and I was going to come to, since you said that it's not just the wings or just the aerofoil structure which can be improved. I see you guys have been coming out with really amazing harnesses that have been received pretty well by the market, and Arrow is one of them. But I believe Cocoon, this is a concept that has been out in the market, discarded, coming back, and then being adopted again. What are your thoughts on this brand new design, which was already there and coming back again and saying that this is adding so much value to the performance enhancing? If you guys can touch a little bit on the Cocoon concept, because I think currently only 2 manufacturers are hitting it. People seem to be accepting it really well, and pretty sure you guys are going to follow that trend very soon, because obviously, why not? So what are your thoughts on Cocoon, and how does it help increase, and how much really does it even matter if you have a Cocoon versus a normal flare harness?
Well, when it turns out to analyze the performance, of course, the drag that is yielded by the body itself, it's really high. So you need to find solutions to decrease this drag. One solution is to use a pod or to use a fully closed harness or a hybrid solution. For instance, in our case, the Drifter 2, which is not fully pressurized. We have a Cocoon that is not pressurized, but a tail that covers all the back of the pilot that is pressurized. And it's a way to streamline the flow. So the more streamlined is the flow, the lower is the drag that is yielded by the pilot. And since performance is really important for, in this case, CCC competitions and also for cross-country leisure flights, it's really good approach, I'd say, to improve this performance. Because in terms of percentage, when you analyze the percentage of the drag, if you do not cover the pilot, it represents maybe half of the drag of all the system. So if you add the drag from the canopy and also the drag from lines and the pilot itself represents more or less half of all the drag of the system. So using this kind of harnesses, it's an important amount. So using this kind of harnesses helps to reduce it considerably, and so that's the point that helps to improve the performance.
Yeah, when we started with cocoon harnesses back, I cannot rely how many years ago, but actually it was a change for sure. But I think the big improvement in performance, it was when we started putting tails on the harnesses, because for sure, Guillem could give more information about this. But when you have the turbulence that each generator after the pilot covered or in the streamline correctly done, it's way more efficient than having just a cocoon versus a normal harness. Actually, you have the frontal area with a cocoon or with the legs out will be different for sure. But if you don't cover this turbulence behind the pilot, it's really stacking.
The thing is that wake is generated there downstream the pilot, so there's a difference in pressure between the back and the head of the pilot, so that it creates a force that is drag. The higher is the strength of the wake, the higher is the drag yielded. So installing a tail there dampens these wakes, and so the drag can be decreased as well. So that's the idea behind using tails and cocoons.
Makes sense. I was just curious, like a cocoon is just one example, but like winglets, closed cells, like all of these technologies have existed and been discarded by the industry only to be brought back and ask the audiences to be excited. So what's, like, from a designer's point of view, like what's the ideology behind reinventing something that was already there? Is it that like they were way too early for their time and people were like, oh my God, this is outside my comfort zone. This looks way too funny. This looks way too fancy for me to put my money in. And now finally, even big brands, like what does your talk look like when you're sitting around? As I'll circle back to that Oliver Neff drawing table and brainstorming. So when all of you guys are sitting together and talking about these technologies that somebody has, put in the effort, how do you guys navigate that question that this technology is worth bringing back? And are we going to see more of that coming in, just refinement of previous technologies in coming years?
Well, in terms of these kind of new concepts that we develop, as we said before, we search a lot, we make a lot of simulation and testing before applying something in one wing. For sure, there are concepts, as Guillem said at the beginning, the theory of aerodynamics, it's the same, but all these new things or concepts that are applied, for example, in planes, that if you want to move them back to wings, the application need to be redesigned. So it's not just taking one thing that it's in one plane and you put it on your wing and it will make the same effect. The theory and the technique behind it's the same, but you need to apply it correctly. It's not related that you apply something and automatically you have one wing that it's flying better.
Yeah. And well, that idea of releasing a new idea in the market and then removing it from the market and introducing it, it's common in all the industry, I'd say. So normally the explanation is because there are not enough technologies to develop correctly this technology or this idea. And of course, research is always going forward, but innovation that is moving this research into the market is not always moving forward at the same time. So I think that your question can be answered in that way. So always you can have different solutions, but they are not applied to the market. So innovation is not there at the same time.
Yeah, I think to conclude, designers have a tougher job than it looks like for us as consumers. There's loads of things that you guys have to think about before putting the company's money into or resources. But, guys, you guys have been at the forefront of all of these things, and I would have come down to this latest new toy that you brought out in the market that everybody's talking about. Orikami. I mean, when I Google up Orikami, it says it's a Japanese paper art, it looks really fancy. I'm not going to deny that. It got me really hooked and I started reading about it and it looks super fancy. So, I just don't want to know about the technology, but I want to know how did this concept, like who planted this seed? And please talk us through the beginning of this concept until the drawing board, until the protos, until making the final product. And we have enough time, so please go ahead as detailed as you want to, because this is so exciting, man. I think audiences want to know about this.
Okay, so Orikami arises from an idea of going to harnesses that provide more perfect performance. And to provide more performance, as I've explained before, the idea is to reduce wake strength downstream the pilot, but also another approach is to reduce the cross-section area. So if you fly with your legs straight, it's better in terms of aerodynamics than flying with your legs tilted. So following these two approaches for Drifter 2, what we did is to optimize the aerodynamic shape using simulations and aerodynamic shape optimizations. And the other approach was to try to reduce this cross-section area as much as possible. Of course, you have several restrictions there because the pilot is sitting in a fixed position. You cannot reduce the volume that the pilot occupies. Also, you have to install the rescues if you install them on the back, and there's the protector. And of course, the unique option there to reduce this cross-section area was to reduce the thickness of the protector. So that was our motivation. And taking this idea into account to end up with a Drifter 2 that is a really performant harness that is comparable to fully inflated harness in terms of performance, we decided to go to this really thin protector that provides the same or even higher level of protection compared to conventional foams, but the thickness can be reduced more than 60% compared to the foams that are used nowadays for these cross-country harnesses. And so that was our motivation. So we put a lot of efforts from our research and development department to try to investigate a solution that was really efficient in terms of protective behavior. Efficient in the sense that it provides the same level of protection, but with really slim profile. So with this idea in mind, what we did was to look for the state of the art and the conventional technologies that are used nowadays, especially in the aerospace industry. There are several different solutions, especially for helicopters, energy absorbers. If there's a crash in a helicopter, they are using honeycomb structures made up of aluminum. So the idea was to research.
You mean for the whole cage of the aircraft? The honeycomb is like basically the skeleton of the chopper.
Well, for aircraft they use it for the wings or so on, but in helicopters they use it as energy absorbing device. So if the engine fails and the helicopter starts to fall, they have these devices to absorb the energy from the impact and protect the pilot and the occupants inside the cabin. So there's an application on this kind of absorbers in the aerospace industry, and what we did was to look for the state of the art and find or make a combination of the existing solutions and end up with this product, which is Orikami, that is, I would say, really innovative product for the paragliding industry. And that's why we decided to make a patent application. So it will be proved soon, and we will release all the information, the technical aspects and so on, because it's patented. And well, with these different technologies that exist, we research for both the shapes and all the parameters that guide the design of Orikami and also the materials that it is made of. Okay, so with all this combination of parameters and materials, what we achieve is a really effective and efficient protective device or protector because different physical phenomena. The first one is energy absorbing mechanism that we use. We rely our energy absorbing mechanism is elastic buckling deformation rather than plastic deformation. So what it gives us is that it is suitable for several successive impacts without being damaged.
Wow. That is revolutionary because earlier, I think any protector, even the helmets, it's like if they take one impact, then they're discarded for use. But this one, you're saying that it can take hits and still maintain the safety aspect of it.
Exactly. And I can prove it because we follow the conventional homologation procedure that is followed for each single piece of paragliding equipment that is sold in the European Union. There are two different certification procedures. The difference in between them is that you only need to drop test the protector once. In a LTF, you need to drop test the protector twice. So you drop test it once, you take the same protector and drop test it again. And if the two values are within the homologation range, you can approve this harness with this protector. In our case, what we did is to follow the homologation procedure and in a straightforward process. So we started with the same protector for EN. We drop tested it once, we take it, we drop tested it again because you need to switch in between the rescue parachute installed and without. And we did the same for LTF, always with the same protector. So at least we followed 6 high energy drop tests. And all these 6 consecutive drop tests show that the results were within the range of the homologation. So that's why we can prove that Orikami gives protection for at least 6 high energy impacts. But of course, since safety is our main concern and it should be the same for the pilots, we recommend all the pilots to check the protector if they have a crash, just to be sure that there's any broken part or so on. But of course, during the homologation, we proved that it sustains at least 6 high energy impacts.
It's like this product is kind of so interesting because I'm forgetting the name of the other kind of Coriode. Yes, Coriode protector. What is Coriode protector? Because from what I understand is it hardens when it faces stress, and otherwise it's kind of a bit of a jelly-like structure. But of course, we have seen some crashes where pilots have unfortunately paid very dearly for it because it twists, and it doesn't stay in the protector. And what baffles my mind is that how can a protector like that go out after the certification out to the end product and actually cause undesirable circumstances in the use case scenario? Like, what is Coriode and what went wrong with Coriode? I really want to know that.
Yeah, well, I prefer not to talk about the concurrence products, but I can explain you why this is homologated and it actually is not protecting in different scenarios that are not covered by the homologation. It's because in the homologation, you only drop test it in vertical direction. And if the direction is not correctly vertical, these pieces can rotate or not be correctly fixed inside the slots of the foam. In our case, and it's an important aspect, is that we did this drop test in different orientations and inclinations of the harness, just to be sure that the pieces of Orikami stayed correctly fixed inside the foam matrix. And we proved that the values of the maximum Gs and also the time that in between all these 2 ranges of the homologation are always the same, and are independent of this orientation during the fall. So that's an important aspect from our side. And also, we designed Orikami to stay securely fixed inside these foam slots because we increase the out-of-plane stiffness. So, for instance, if you take the piece of Orikami and you press it from the sides, it's not deforming, or it's almost not deforming, and that's the reason that explains that it stays correctly fixed inside this slot inside the foam.
Yeah. No, what I'm wondering is when you say putting pieces of Orikami under there, and of course, the other protectors are like the foam one or the airbag or the one which kind of form the whole structure of the harness. What, like, having a whole structure of the protector of Orikami, is that too expensive? Is that too financially unviable? Like, why do we have to only put pieces of it and then worry about them being twisted or turned depending upon the direction of impact?
Well, I think that the explanation is not economic. Of course, there's an economic point there because it would be more expensive. But the explanation is that when you have crash, normally the parts that crash are the pelvis and are the bones under you. So with Orikami, also we investigated the most potential places where the impact starts. So we place Orikami wisely in that positions, just to be sure that they are there to absorb the energy just at the beginning of the crash and absorb or maximize the absorbing capacity of this Orikami piece. So that explains also this positioning inside the foam and explains why not to use a full Orikami protector.
I see. But, when as a customer, you go out and you're trying to look out for a harness. Now, this just came to, I never knew that LTF had multiple drop tests requirement and ENA has only one. European norms have only one and LTF. But what I'm wondering is, where can a customer put their research? Because in the wings, you know that you can see multiple letters and multiple maneuvers, and then you can see, okay, this glider has one letter which is crossing over to the next homologation, but all the other ones are here. But when you take your research for the harness, except from the aesthetical appeal and the marketing that is being put out, where can a customer actually go out and put their resources and look for? Like, how do you decide this harness is worth spending money on?
Well, in terms of this protector, of course, the laboratory that goes throughout the homologation makes everything public. So you can look for the reports on the test. You can analyze the maximum value of the Gs, also the time that it stays above a certain limit. And also you can see normally the plot of the rebound. So if you are looking for a protector that is weightless, maybe you can choose an inflatable protector. But if you look for the time plot, the acceleration versus time that is published in the homologation, you will see that there are several secondary rebounds using this kind of protector. If you want to avoid these rebounds, of course, you can look, for instance, for a foam or for Orikami to prevent this rebound. So the customers who are looking for a protector, they can check the results because they are public. It's mandatory for each manufacturer to make them public, and also the laboratory needs to publish them in their website. So I would advise the customers to look for more kind of technical information to discover if a protector is actually protecting them or not, if it's protecting them for several impacts or not. That's why there are some protectors that are homologated only following EN, because they only protect a single impact. And there are some others that are homologated following these two standards that are EN and LTF, because some can sustain more than one impact. So I would advise to go to more technical information when it comes to decide whether a protector is useful or not for them.
Yeah, for wing it's easier because you have the level, as you said, A, B, C, D, CCC. Inside each level, as we said before, there are many margins that you can analyze also. It's not just because you have one C level, it's C. You need to analyze. But it's clear that for harnesses, it's less visible and not so easy to find this information. And even if you find it, you need some background or explanation of what you need to look for. So that's why we're also investing and trying to explain better this. And with this example of Orikami, it's the good opportunity to make this explanation of maximum Gs, the timing on between these
certain limit.
Yeah, above the limit of Gs, the rebound. So if you have a lot of rebounds, all this, if you are new in the market or in the sport, for sure, it's not something that maybe you get easily from school training. So you need to get it by your own. And that's why it's not so easy to analyze safety of harnesses. But yeah, they are the tools, and you just need to understand maximum Gs, rebounds, timings, all these need to be explained correctly.
Another option is if someone wants to buy some protectors from Niviuk, to ask our sales department, and we will be really glad to give the explanations and all the feedback about these technical aspects on the protective behavior of any protector that we put.
No, for sure. I think that is a point that I want to emphasize with your brand, that it's very hard to come across a brand so transparent and so honest about whatever they're bringing in, because a lot of brands are not comfortable talking about their behind the scenes process. So definitely massive thanks to you guys for being, so unfiltered while explaining your ideas. But, guys, before I close this, I want to touch upon foam versus Orikami, or foam versus any other new technology. Because foam has been a trusted partner in paragliding harness protector technology for years, for as long as we know it. Regardless of the amount of impacts, regardless of whatever's there, it's like, hey, this is not going to burn a hole in your pocket. It is one of the kind of most widely used form of protection. Even the top pilots in the world have been flying for it. The World Cup winners, the Super Final winners, the ones in the absolute top league have placed their trust on foam time and again. So are we seeing like a revolutionary shift as we are seeing from 3-liners to 2-liners? Is that what Orikami promises to bring in the market?
Well, of course, it depends on the requirements from the customer. If the objective is to look for performance, as I've said at the beginning of the talk, is to reduce the cross-section area of the harness, in that case for Drifter 2. If they are looking for this specific application for CCC competitions and also for high-level cross-country flights, they would choose a really low or slim profile protector. So Orikami is there to fill the gap of thin protectors in the market, because if you are looking for a foam that gives you the same protective behavior, the thickness is increased by more than 60%. So the performance is not at the same level in terms of aerodynamics. So I think that Orikami will stay there for this kind of harnesses or applications that are all looking mainly for performance.
Got it. And other than that, I think when we talk about protectors in the harness, is that basically you make a decision with airbag and foam and Orikami based on performance, or is that like, is there a way that, hey, if I spend more money, I will get more safety? Because obviously, we as humans do not want to trade monetary gains for safety. Like you tell someone that you give me €100 extra and I'll make your life safer, he'll happily pay that. So what I'm wondering is the market eventually transitioning towards the point where money means more safety, or is it that no, you just have to look at your use case scenario and safety can be accessible to even people who do not have big bucks in the bank?
Well, in terms of investment in research is what gives these kind of things of like Orikami. If you relate this to safety, for sure, brand that it's able to invest a lot of money in research and inside foam, not just with Orikami technologies, but foams are a wide range of materials that you can analyze, test, and study. So a brand that is able to put this effort and time and investment on checking foams, for sure, you can get more safety or a better performance and protector. That it's what we did with this technology, focusing our objective of reducing the frontal area of drifter. But for sure, you can get more technology out of this.
Yeah, and for the customer, you'd say that they have to decide their application and their requirements. You cannot conceive high compliant harness with a protector that you are looking for a low thin profile, but is maybe a bit heavier compared to an inflatable protector. So always customers have to take this into account when deciding whether to choose a product or another. And also, to give more a view to people and to explain everything, I would recommend to go inside Niviuk's Orikami webpage, so Niviuk's, and search for Orikami and have a look into the technical report, because it gives a really wide view of what is this technology, and also to give more information about homologation procedure that all the harnesses follow. And it also compares the families of the protectors that exist nowadays in the market and give you comparing the maximum value of Gs and also things. So I would recommend the lecture of this technical document, because it's really easy to understand and it's helpful for everybody to know this information.
There are some visual graphs that are making the thing a bit simple to understand for everyone. So if they have a look, they will have a general view of why we use this.
I have to bring in, your web designer is doing such an amazing job, man. It's so nice to navigate on Niviuk's website, like the amount of graphics, the amount of kind of information that is out there. So you're not just making amazing wings, you're definitely making amazing website as well.
It's also a big team of marketing here in the office. It's making the video, the renders, all the image, all the manuals and explanation. It's not an easy thing. So we have a big team here in the office every day working for that.
Yeah, and we think that communication is as much as important as researching and development. So that's why we have this website with all the information, being transparent, explaining all the details from our products. That's our philosophy, and we will maintain it for the years to come also.
100%. And I think just the amount of UX designers, or the amount of brain that your UX designer puts, because every time you bring out a glider on your website, I want to buy that. It is so damn inspiring. Like I've been flying Ikuma 2 for about 300 hours now, and I'm like, oh my god, I want to buy Ikuma 3 first and then buy the Arctic R, kind of a thing. But anyways,
Ikuma 3, you didn't test it?
No, maybe if you sponsor me. No, not yet. But I think, of course, your brand is so inspiring. I will get my hands on better and more fancier wings eventually in time to come from Ikuma. But I mean, I am sold. You don't have to convince me. I love Ikuma and Niviuk anyways.
Follow step by step. You don't go fast, just step by step on the progression. And if you go too fast, as we said before, if you jump some steps, it's when people sometimes doesn't find a way of evolving inside the sport.
No. I'm in no rush. I want to enjoy every single Niviuk product to its max before I upgrade to better one. I mean, okay, since you guys have been so honest, I want to ask you one last question before closing. Who decides your names, man? How do you come out with such epic names of the products? It's so exciting.
Well, this is a bit of playing between marketing and designing. Sometimes we also receive feedbacks or suggestions, but normally it's marketing with designing that we appear with these names. We start developing, for example, if it's already model in the catalog, it's clear that we need to follow the line. But for a new concept or model, the designers, they have their own ideas and they make proposals. Sometimes they are in the good line and we follow them, and sometimes we need to play a bit. But it's a funny thing also.
No, but is this the brainchild of Dominic, or is this like Oliver's kind of fantasy world? Because right from Coyote to Ikuma, Arte, like everything just sounds so racy. Everything sounds so fancy, even the brand name Niviuk. So I really want to get a concrete answer to that. Like, who is the person who got this fascination going so well out there in the market?
we it's a bit of part of everyone, and Dominique, Olivier, and all the other members of the team. The case on the names maybe make a race effect. Also, it's more strong names. It's like a bit of historic tendency that we follow. But everyone has a little bit of part on the names. More design department and also the heads of the Niviuk company.
I think I just have to bring your design department on the show one day, man. The way they design the wings, and of course you went from the trademark horn design to the brand new design. And I don't know, I've written to your export manager multiple times that you guys design wings the way they fly. Like, they just look so racier. They just just by looking at a Niviuk wing, you're like, yeah, that looks like it's gonna fly fast.
But we also focus a lot in the handling and safety. That's a compromise that we are looking for all the range of products in the catalog. You can have the best or quite high on the top performance, but if you are not complementing it with a good handling or safety of depending on each concept, but
inflation.
All the points are important, and handling, it's one of the feeling that you get, what the wing transmits to you. It's what makes you stay with this wing. If you test one wing one day and you feel it just natural to you, and so this will get you. And this is the handling.
Now, my Ikuma made me deploy on my 9th flight with it. But regardless of that deployment, I mean, that's thankfully the only deployment I've had, and I hope the only deployment I have in life. But that wing has kept me going for 300 hours, even beyond that 9th flight, simply because of the way it handles and the way it does. I mean, although it requires a bit of a trimming pretty often. Do you guys want to quickly touch upon that? Why do Niviuk wings require trimming so often? Is it because of the unsheathed line and the drag coefficient that you guys are trying to manage?
Actually, if you see the materials that are used in paragliding industry, there are not big difference between lines, manufacturers, and fabrics. This could be a good, actually it's a bad point, because we don't have many options, but actually the material used on lines, for example, the trimming, it's in high aspect rings, let's say, the non-covered lines are the same in the top brands. So the trimming, the behavior of the lines are not changing much. For sure, you can improve this with production manufacturing processes. So there is also quite a lot of research and studies of how we construct the sewing of the lines, the loops. But for sure, the material, I would not say that you need more trimming on one Niviuk comparing to other wings. In general, let's say, for sure, if you look some cases, maybe people had bad experience or something really detailed. But in general, using the same materials, I would not expect to have, in general, more dream.
All right. Now, well, on that note, guys, I think you guys have been one of the most transparent team on the show, and I honestly love your perspective. Massive thanks for that. But before I let you go, and before my audience lets you go, what is the plan? What's coming? I'm super excited, and so is my audience. So please, a little bit of a sneak peek. No secrets, but still, whatever you can.
Well, in terms of developing, we are always pushing. This will not stop for sure. And we are making more simulation and improving better the products, and all these points will never stop.
Yeah, and looking for new processes on simulation, and also on these researching projects that we've got, just to be more efficient or to work faster in terms of development. That's also another important point for us, but you can continue earlier.
In terms of products, we are having some new harnesses presented now, that are the tandem harnesses that we present lately on the website, that are the Sherlock and the Watson 2. These are the pilot and passenger harnesses that will be on stock soon. So this will appear in the middle season. So these are the two main products out of the Drifter that was presented with the Orikami. So it's also the new product that we have these three harnesses. In terms of developing, we have a few more harnesses that will be presented on the Cupicar of this year. And in terms of wings, we are also going to present a quite long range of new wings that I cannot spoil the names to take out not take out the effect of the Cupicar thing. But yeah, we are working on 8 models at the moment. 6 will be presented on the Cupicar. So in harness also, we will present 2-3 new models this year. So it will be a quite interesting season.
Hell yeah. I mean, considering the amount of team and resources that you guys have, I think I have only one request. Just don't patent every single technology. Leave out something for the other manufacturers. We need a level playing field in here.
It's what we said. If you don't push and you don't run, you stay back. So it's not the option for Niviuk.
Agreed. I think on that note, guys, we have pretty much covered everything that we had time for. And needless to say, super exciting, super informative. And I don't see any reason why, me or my audience shouldn't place trust in your brand. So massive thanks, Paragliding Atlas. We'll definitely want your attention again. But until then, this rocks our world hard enough. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot for your time and the opportunity to be in this show, that we are not so often doing these kind of things, and we are happy to be part of it also, and have the opportunity to explain all these not so easy things to understand. Maybe we always find a good point to share.